Hi, welcome to Strandstugan. I'm going to take you on a virtual tour of my art show, The World Can Be a Beautiful Place. Come on in. So, the first painting we're going to look at is this. This was the first painting I painted for this series. I painted all of these paintings during the spring of 2025, and I don't know, I was having a tough time personally, but it was also geopolitically a very disturbing time, actually. There was a lot going on in the world that was disturbing and stressful. Wars and suffering and things had, there were a lot of things going on that also had a negative impact on the climate and all things that were stressing me a lot. And I was also very stressed at work. I work as an academic when I'm not painting and was very busy with that. And I needed something basically just to take my mind off things. So I started painting this series without knowing that it was going to be a series. And this is the first painting I painted, and it sort of set the tone for the whole exhibition. I call it When the World Can Be a Beautiful, or When the World is Beautiful is what I call it. And as you can see, it's a silk painting, and none of these paintings are framed. I usually frame my paintings when I exhibit them because I feel like they really sort of lift the painting, but not framing them actually gives visitors a feel of the silk. So you can see it's really sheer, and it's almost transparent. And so this painting is basically a world floating in outer space. I guess that's a beautiful world. This is what the world could look like when it's beautiful. And the world can be so beautiful. There's also, even though there are a lot of stressful things going on in the world, there's also a lot of beauty. And I really wanted to, explore that, I guess. Should we move on to the next painting? So one thing that was very symbolic for me was that these paintings are actually they were all originally something else. Can you see maybe you can see my cord. I'm stuck to the camera with a cord. So these paintings were all originally something else. So it was somehow very symbolic to, not only paint out my frustrations, but also to use paintings that were pieces of silk and paintings that I discarded because I had just abandoned them before they were done because I didn't think they were turning out the way I wanted them to, or maybe they were finished paintings that I just wasn't very happy with. So these are actually reused paintings, and I wanted to take something that I didn't think was so nice and make something beautiful out of it, which was also very symbolic for me. So this was actually originally a painting that has been in one of my art shows before, and it was a painting of reeds. And you can actually see the reeds. In a lot of the paintings, you can't see the original painting anymore, but you can actually see the reeds in this painting. But I added color, and I felt like it looked like it was on fire, a little bit like the world has sort of been on fire. So actually, I call this painting Fire. Shall we move on? So the next painting that we're going to look at is this. This is another world. It's a world that's spinning. Oh, I need to go over here. This is another world. It's a world that's spinning out of control. But as you can see, it's sort of like a world spinning in outer space, but it's not spinning so fast that flowers can't bloom. So there's hope, this is like the spinning world with flowers that bring hope. And the interesting for me when I was painting these paintings was that because I was using canvases, silk canvases that already had paint on them. I had to, or the backgrounds that were already there sort of dictated the colors I used, the mood, and, you know, the shapes I chose. And, you know, I'm an overthinker. And when I was painting these paintings, I really tried not to think too much. So it was more about emotions and feelings and what the painting wanted to be. It sounds kind of strange, but it made a lot of sense to me at the time. And so there was no plan. I just had a painting that that sort of told me what colors I needed to use and what shapes I needed to accentuate and bring to the fore. And this was actually, I remember what this was. This was a scarf I painted that I was experimenting with scarves at one point, and it was a giant rose that became a spinning world. Should we move on? Let's go over here. I think we will go, this is a really tiny gallery, so I'm bringing you to a really low spot, and I have to crouch down, and so does my camera person. Over here, we have another botched scarf that I wanted to rework. I was kind of, these shapes that you can see, they were on this scarf, and they didn't become one, or I didn't feel like they looked very good. So I discarded that scarf. And then when I got it out and started painting it, I was painting this light area surrounded by this dark area. And I realized that this shape right here looked almost exactly like a pike, a big fish that we have a lot in the waters around the island where this gallery is. And it became a pike, and it turned into a seascape. And I feel like we're looking through the water, and the pike is there, but it's not threatening. It's just there, and we're sort of looking into the deep, and there's this really hopeful light. Let's move on. Then we have this painting here. This was actually one of the first paintings I painted in this series. And all of these paintings they were all themes that either gave voice to my frustrations or brought me comfort. And this was a painting that brought me comfort. I love roses. I love painting roses. There's something very restful to me when it comes to painting roses. But the pinks and the light greens and the white of the roses, this sort of reminded me of my grandmother and her sister, my great aunt, and the, tapestries and cross-stitch pillows they had. And so it kind of reminded me of my childhood. Let's move on. Are you ready? Let's go over here. And here we have a horse. I love to horseback ride, and I love horses. Maybe I should go over here. I love horses, and there's something about horseback riding that is magical, and it is because you have to be so present with the horses when you ride. When you ride, it's like an escape from the real world. So whatever is bothering you, if you're stressed in any way, you really get a break from that when you horseback ride, to the point that when you come off the horse, when you're done and you come off the horse, sometimes you're like, if you have anxiety in your life, you can like be washed over with a wave of anxiety when you get off, when you remember everything that's going on. So I remember at the time I had been to see an art show. There was a Finnish artist who, she paints horses, and I especially loved her horse portraits. And I was inspired to also paint a horse. And this was also a scarf that didn't turn out the way I want, the way I liked. It's originally I had painted roses, so I used this to paint a horse portrait, and I call this painting "I Will Carry You," because that's what horses do. They carry us no matter what, no matter what's going on in the world. The horses carry us. And again, you can see how sheer and light the silk is. We have two more paintings. Shall we go over here? This painting here is actually the only painting here that wasn't something else when I started painting it. It was a blank canvas when I started painting it. But I decided to include it in this series and in this show anyway, because because I painted it at around the same time, and I also struggled a lot with it. It was when you paint on silk, you have to stretch the silk on these painting frames. So I had it on a painting frame for months actually, and painted it on and off. So it was, it was a bit of a struggle to paint, and I'm actually quite happy with it. I thought it turned out quite nice. So I decided to add it to this series, even though it isn't an old painting that's reworked. But it isn't either what I originally intended. I can't even remember what my intention was, but often when I paint on silk, I have an idea of what I want to paint, but you never really know what happens when you paint on silk because of the medium. And sometimes the silk doesn't want to be what you think you want it to be. So this did actually turn out quite differently than I originally intended. But this is what it wanted to be. And shall we go to the last painting? This is the last painting of the show, and the last painting I'm going to show you. What do I call this painting? I have to remind myself. Finding the Light in the Dark. So when I painted this, I was really very frustrated. I was frustrated and angry. I don't usually use a lot of reds when I paint, but here you can see, well, the original painting was shades of reds and orange. I remember it was flowers or grasses, really, and so you can see my frustration. There are a lot of bold, angry colors and gashes on the painting, but at the same time, there's light. You can see light in the middle. And also you can see these white flowers. So although I was very frustrated and quite angry, it's still not hopeless. There's also a lot of hope and a lot of light in this painting. And I feel like this is an important lesson, and it's also an important message, something that we have to remember, that even though the world is crazy and there are a lot of really crazy things going on, there's always hope, and there's always light, and there is always beauty. And I guess that's what my show is about. It's about what the world is like when it is beautiful, or that it can be beautiful, and it often is. Thanks for watching.